Hi everybody, welcome back to the Burlington Future Show. Today I'm going to be interviewing Deb Kraft from the Old Spokes home. If you can remember when the time travelers came, they talked a lot about how in the future people bike and walk almost everywhere. Car infrastructure has really been reduced to its most only where it's necessary. So I really would like to talk to Deb and talk about what Old Spokes home is doing right now to facilitate people biking and getting more people on bikes. So I'm really excited. Here's my interview with Deb.
Kason was sad, he thought the present was bad, until some time travelers came and told him to be glad because the future is bright. He wasn't looking right, they gave a list of people doing good to get in his sight, and so now he's interviewing all the people you should know that are building a better world right now on the Burlington Future Show.
Hi Deb, thank you so much for coming to the Burlington Future Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about a little bit about Old Spokes home, and then just more broadly about alternative infrastructure advocacy and the bike advocacy, which I know you've been really involved in. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's Old Spokes home? What do you guys do there?
Yeah. Old Spokes home is a full-service nonprofit bike shop. So we're just like any other bike shop in that you can bring your bike in for quick services or scheduled out for a tune-up. We also do a wide range of services like custom builds if you have a specific frame you love. We also do suspension service. And in addition to operating as a regular retail service bike shop, we have a lot of nonprofit programming that help make bike ownership and bike maintenance a lot more accessible for more people. To a large portion of the cycling world, bikes are a toy and they're a fun thing, but for a lot of people they're also a tool and a form of transportation, and having access to that can really improve someone's agency. So we have a lot of programming to provide bikes to youth and kids for free. So we do a kids bike giveaway event every spring, and then we also have our youth shop programming during the summer where kids can come in and either work on their own bikes or fix up a bike that they can then take home for free. We also have our Everybody Bikes program, which is pretty much our biggest thing as our nonprofit shop, and this program allows income-eligible Vermonters to enroll for pretty steep discounts on service and bike ownership, and it just makes it a lot more affordable and possible for people to have bikes as their main transportation. And then we have a couple other events throughout the year that are just meant to really improve the community around cycling and let people know that there are people they can turn to for bike-related things, and also just to be in community with.
I love that. That's so great. Yeah. Okay. So the Everybody Bikes program how long has it been around, and what's the do you know, or what's the mission of, or how did it start and how did it evolve into what it is? Yeah.
So the history of Old Spokes is interesting in that it's actually two organizations joined together. So Old Spokes Home initially was just a regular bike shop, and then separately there was an organization called Bike Recycle Vermont. And Bike Recycle Vermont specifically was providing bikes to low-income folks, doing a lot of fixing up of bikes that were found in dumpsters and making rideable and giving to people who otherwise had no transportation. A lot of serving the refugee population was initially the start of Bike Recycle Vermont. And then over time, the two organizations merged into one. And Old Spokes used to be across the street, and Bike Recycle Vermont was in its current location. And now everything's in one building, and we are together, Old Spokes Home, a nonprofit bike shop. And so the Everybody Bikes program kind of came from the programming that Bike Recycle Vermont was offering. So I don't remember the exact year that it became this is the program that Old Spokes is offering, but Bike Recycle Vermont has been around since the early 2000s, so it's definitely a long-standing program and service.
That's so cool. Yeah. I love that. I know that Old Spokes Home does like a couple charity races and stuff like that as well. What's the fundo all about, or the Cranksgiving race at Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So the Fall Fundo, it's our largest annual fundraising event. So it's not really a race; it's more of just a ride. But you can race if you want. But we offer 5 different route options for people to choose from, and they're all around gorgeous gravelly roads of Vermont, covered bridges, all the foliage. And it's just an opportunity for people to sign up to ride in a way that supports our shop and our mission. And riders are also encouraged to fundraise in addition to the registration cost, so that we can get a lot of more money coming in, so that we can guarantee that our programs can keep running. And after the ride, there's an after party at the shop where we always have live music and food, and there are raffle prizes, and there are also certain categories of prizes for like highest fundraiser, or if you met your fundraising goal, everybody gets a certain prize. And so it's just a fun way to like encourage people to ride together and support the missions of the shop. And then Cranksgiving, another fantastic annual event. This one is not unique to Old Spokes. Bike shops all over the country will do a similar event. But the idea is riders show up, and this one is a bit of a race. And everybody gets a grocery list. And the idea is that the riders will go out in whatever order they want to hit all these grocery stores and get certain ingredients. And then they bring all those ingredients back to the shop, and everything is donated to the food bank. So it's a way to encourage riders to support small local groceries and to provide food for their neighbors. And there are also prizes for who carries the most weight of food, who gets back the soonest, and who has the best costume.
I love that. But I'd done the Cranksgiving ride, and one thing that like I really enjoyed about it was how it highlighted the ability to get to grocery stores and carry food. I mean, you're carrying way more food than you would ever usually carry on a grocery run, and you're still able to do it on a bike if you have the right tools, and then you can bring it back to Old Spokes Home, which I really appreciated, sort of just demonstrating the superfluousness of having a vehicle. Like you can have a bike and still do it.
Yeah.
Which I'm curious. Is Old Spokes Home involved in I know that you personally are really involved in advocating for cycling infrastructure and stuff like that. Does Old Spokes Home get involved in that as an organization?
Yeah, so that's a little bit outside the scope of our mission as a bike shop, but we do work very closely with Local Motion, which does a lot of that advocacy work, and we put on a lot of joint events together. So we very much try to support other organizations that are focusing on advocacy, and we're always sharing resources, and if there's a survey that Local Motion wants shared for feedback on a certain type of road and what could be done, we're always sending that out to our newsletter folks and sharing it on social media. So we're doing as much as we can to direct more focus towards that, but it's not our exact focus as a shop.
Well, it's like those things are really tied together, because if we have more cycling infrastructure, we still need people who are going to give people the bikes and work on the bikes. So it's like they would need to be kind of compatible with each other.
Exactly, and our main motto as a shop is we can get there by bike. So highlighting ways that people can get around and ways that you can improve bike infrastructure is definitely near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, I love that. Personally, how could Burlington be better at supporting cyclists? I know Burlington's pretty good, at least in comparison to some other places. We have that beautiful bike trail right by the waterfront. We've got some protected bike lanes. We have that new bike lane all the way down Pine Street and then to the South End City Market. What if you could envision a cycling world where people go almost everywhere by bike? What would that look like to you in Burlington?
Yeah, and I will agree, Burlington is a lot better than other places for biking, and even in the 10 years that I've lived here, the infrastructure has really improved, and there's been a lot more bike lanes put in. I really envision a world where nobody has to drive a car if they don't want to. The roads feel very safe for cyclists everywhere, and if something is a little bit beyond someone's cycling ability, there is reliable, fast, affordable public transportation that can get them around so that not everybody has to ride a bike. I think it would be incredible if there were certain routes throughout the city that were bike only, because obviously we have bike lanes and we have the bike path on the waterfront, but if you're going out and about in the city and you have errands and you have places to get to, you always have to share that ride with cars and other infrastructure. And so if there was possible to have routes where it was a fully separated bike lane through the city, it would be huge for safety and people's comfort on the road. I had another idea. And I think a lot of it is there has to be a society level change of perception of bikes. As I mentioned before, there's a wide variety within the cycling world, and some people see it as a sport and a toy and for fun, and for other people it's transportation. And I think a lot of drivers don't necessarily realize that this is necessary transportation for a lot of people, and they see bikes on their road and sharing their space, and they're like, you should be on the sidewalk, and it's actually a lot less safe for bikes to be on the sidewalk, for pedestrians, and all these other reasons. And I think there's just not a lot of understanding and education around what bikes mean to some people as transportation. And if people who predominantly get around via car had a better understanding of that and a little bit more compassion for why people choose other forms of transportation, that could go a long way in improving the experience of biking.
And I think Old Spokes Home kind of contributes to that too, because I've known that there's like story nights where you can go to Old Spokes Home and listen to people talk about like their bike journeys or their bike stories and how that might normalize sort of journeying by bike.
Totally. And another example, another program that Old Spokes has that I didn't mention is every Tuesday we have a volunteer night in our community workshop, which is currently in the basement of our building and formerly the Bike Recycle Vermont space. And so every Tuesday volunteers can come in and help us process our donation bikes. And it's a lot of just like stripping down parts that we're going to save versus what cannot really be used any longer. And it's a way for people to kind of get some hands-on experience if they don't have any experience working on bikes with the guidance of some professional mechanics around. And I've heard stories of people who started attending volunteer night after they were involved in a car-cyclist collision, and somebody who was always a car driver and had no understanding of why somebody might be biking in the road had this collision with the cyclist. Everyone was okay, but after that they were like, I want to understand like why people are doing this, and having this weekly running volunteer night as an opportunity for people to come into a space that they're maybe not familiar with and to try to introduce themselves to a community and understand other people's experience. I think it's really great that we can offer that, and things like pedal parables where it's just learning from each other and sharing our experiences around bikes.
Yeah, I love that. And I know like outside of Old Spokes Home, you also are a volunteer for this organization called Radical Adventure Riders. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that too?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm one of the organizers for a local chapter of Radical Adventure Riders, or RAR for short. And RAR is a movement for racial and gender equity in cycling. So we specifically put on events for women, transgender, and non-binary folks to build community and help build confidence for folks in the cycling world. It's a space that we wish didn't need to exist, but the way that gender equity is panning out so far, it feels really important to have this this space for ourselves. And we do a lot of bike packing and shop nights and monthly chill group rides and just different ways to introduce people to the cycling community and how they can be a part of it and how they can find community in it. And we also work very closely with Old Spokes. Old Spokes is actually our fiscal sponsor as a RAR chapter, so a lot of our group rides will start at Old Spokes, and we use the community workshop for our shop nights and classes. And so it's really nice to have the two organizations supporting each other in this way. I
love that. That's so cool. Yeah, and I've been on the Queen City Bicycle Club ride years ago, and I loved it. It was so fun with the stereo, and it's great.
It's a good time.
Great. Well, I think those are all the questions I have for you, Deb. I do want to say that you are an incredible bike mechanic. I love going. Whenever I need a bike fix, I love going to Old Spokes Home. And also, me personally, as somebody who does cycle everywhere, I'm always sort of astounded at, and I don't want to give people too high expectations, but repairing your bike is so much cheaper than repairing a car.
Right.
I'm always still surprised. I'm always because when you have a car and you have to get the tires replaced, it's $400 maybe, but then you go get a tire replaced in your bike, it's oh yeah, that'll be $40. I'm really?
Yeah, especially at Old Spokes where we have a lot of used gear that we can offer people, which I guess is another thing about Old Spokes is that we get so many donations and we have pretty much a used option of any part that you could need to replace on a bike. And so that makes it even more affordable than a lot of other bike shops in terms of getting a part replaced or getting a tune-up. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for everything you do, and thanks for coming on to the Burlington Future Show.
Thanks for having me, Kason.
Wow, that was such a good interview. I learned so much about what Old Spokes Home is doing. The Everybody Bikes program is incredible, and opening up their shop and letting people learn about how to work on bikes is incredible. I think that we really learned a lot about what we can do to further bike infrastructure right now, so we can reach that utopian future we learned about. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm looking forward to talking with some more people.